split the day, take the series from Kansas State. What's your takeaway from a long day like today when you go is two full games in the same day?
Well, I think the hardest thing to do, and maybe in baseball, is to sweep a doubleheader, just because. I mean, it's a long day, and then a lot of times you're using your high-end guys, and because you're ahead, like we did with Ben. Yeah. And they weren't, right? Tyson Neighbors is their kind of leverage high-end guy, and so that's why those are so difficult. Is because for the most part, and I mean it comes down to starting pitching. Their guy did a really good job, and I thought Caven actually only giving up 2 in the first was a win. Because it was homer, double, walk, and then a double play and a strikeout. So I thought that was really good by him to kind of limit it. But I thought the big bright spot was on the weekend was Jack Arthur. Yeah. I thought he took some great at bats, hit the ball in the button even in the 9th inning there, had the big double in the first game, and I just thought he took extremely good at bats the whole weekend. So can't say enough about him. And then, we wanted, obviously, we're looking to go at least 6-3 in our final 9 conference games. It's like kind of the bare minimum that we want to do. And, this kind of puts you at what that is. If you go 2-1 the rest, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. But obviously getting a sweep gives you a little bit of a cushion on that. But, give credit to them. They played, they played well and came out ready to swing the bats early and kind of just, we got behind 4-0 and then couldn't catch up.
Had a couple mound visits today. It was a little bit more demonstrative than normal out there. What was your message to, I think it was Louie and Mason and a couple of the other guys?
Well, I think Louie, when he's at his best, he's not tiptoeing around the strike zone. I thought he was, and I just challenged him to trust what he can do. And I think when he tiptoes, it's longer at bats, counts get turned around, and he needs to pitch on the attack and pitch ahead of counts. So just encourage him to do that a little bit more. And then Bixby, I think the big thing with Bix is, again, we've said it multiple times, but he didn't pitch all last year, and I just told him, man, I think you can be a superstar. I think you can be an absolute dominant force, in college baseball and beyond. But you have to believe it. Like, I can't believe it more than you can believe it. And, I said, I don't care if you give up 10 hits. And I would rather see you fill up the strike zone and be super aggressive than do what we had seen maybe a little bit of Texas in the first part of his outing today. So, he gave up a couple hits, and like I said when I went out there, I'm fine with that. Because more times than not, if you keep elevating the bar in terms of not throwing strikes, but then the next thing is you're throwing strikes to quadrants of the strike zone. And I think first and foremost, you got to get in the zone. And then once you're in the zone, then you can start taking the next step. So for him, it's just a matter of him believing as much as I believe in him and as much as Coach Lon does and his teammates, and so just try to push on that gas pedal a little bit with him and challenge him a little bit. And that's kind of the next step in his process is every Friday night he's got a front row view of watching in terms of mentality, poise, presence, and aggressiveness, and Peyton Tolley. And he's not there yet, but I told him that you can be that. It's just a matter of watching it and understanding it and then translating it into what you want to do.
Speaking of pitching, we didn't see Cole Klecker this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a specific reason for that?
Not really. Some of they hit 60 points worse against left-handers. And so some of that was basically throwing more lefties. And then part of it was, kind of using him on the backside of Hunter Hodges, where Hunter can go and then collect. So that was kind of the game plan. Was in the first game was Avell until Avell couldn't give us any more outs, and then probably go to Hodges and Klecker. And then in this game, when you're behind, for me it was just a matter of sticking with the lefties. And I thought, the bright spot today from the mound, the second game was Zach Morris. And that's a couple times in a row now, and really seemed to have found himself a little bit more, pitching primarily out of the stretch and throwing a little bit firmer of a slider, more of a cutter action to it. So, again, we're going to need, all those guys down there, and it's just a matter of making sure that we push the right buttons and get them in the right spots.
Do you have an update on what happened with Ben Hampton there in the second game?
I just got super dizzy. and felt like he was going to pass out. So, yeah, I don't know.
You mentioned Jack Arthur already. What does it say about a guy that he doesn't get consistent at bats for most of the season, and he comes in a weekend like this and does what he did?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's, he's worked while he waited, and now he's making the most of his opportunities. He did it at Abilene, and then, matchup stuff. We didn't end up playing him in Texas, and shame on me, I guess. But and then coming in this weekend, he had a ton of great at bats. So it says a lot about him working hard at his game, even though he wasn't getting at bats. So it says a lot about him as a person.
Well, you guys did come away with the win Game 3. Were you happy overall with the approach at the plate?
Yeah, I thought, Borma threw the ball good. He was throwing fastballs into our righties, had a really good changeup, had a good slider to lefties. So I thought he had all three pitches against our lineup. And sometimes when you have a lefty that kind of crossfires and speeds you up, throwing the fastball into the righties and then throwing the changeup down and away, and then vice versa with the lefties, it's almost a little bit Ben Abelt style. And he did a good job of kind of getting us out early and us not being able to, we didn't have a hit until Luke in the fifth. So, and then we kind of got to him a little bit as soon as we got him in the stretch. So that's what happens sometimes when those guys are rolling, and then all of a sudden they get in the stretch. They hadn't been like that the whole game. And then we were able to kind of get a couple runs out of that, but their bullpen with Neighbors did a really good job to finish it out. Didn't really give us an opportunity to kind of get some momentum and have an opportunity to tie it.
Got Friday night pretty much locked down with Peyton Tolley at this point. Yeah. Saturday and Sunday have been larger questions for pretty much the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Have you given any thought, now that he's a little stretched out, to maybe rolling Ben out there?
Yeah, I think everything's on the table. And part of it is, we have to start well, and I think you want to be able to have that safety blanket where it's in the middle part of the game and you got him down there where he can just flat out finish the game. Do you start him? I think he started one game last year. It's something that's entered our minds a ton. Especially when we go TBA and you don't use him Friday, and then he's available pretty much all day today. And so it just depends, if you want to get him the first 12 outs or the last 12 outs. So, everything's on the table, and, when your back's against the wall, that's kind of what it usually ends up being is, whoever you think or we think could match up the best to be able to get us 27 outs with us scoring more runs than that. So, definitely thought about it a bunch.
No midweek game the next 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
so you're happy to have a little bit of rest at this time of the season?
Yeah, I think so, and especially the guys last 3 days of class, this, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So for them to be able to kind of take a breath, we'll give them Sunday, we'll give them tomorrow and Monday off, just so that we're banged up all over the place, so just to give them a chance to kind of catch their breath. Usually their off days are Monday, but Mondays are one of their hardest days of class and tutoring and, getting here in terms of seeing Danny Weed, our trainer, to get healthy. So Monday's our off day, but in actuality, it's one of their busiest days. So it'll be nice to be able for them to get off their feet and really get a true off day tomorrow, and then Monday kind of a nice little, take another, deep breath, and then get after it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to be ready to take on our next opponent.